Ah yes, a good old magic run in Sultan Sanctuary. Whether it be shooting lightning out in wide arcs, casting massive breaths of fire, or reaching down deep to bring forth waves of darkness, magic spells are all the rage. So let's define the rules of this run. We're only allowed to deal damage from magic spells, obviously. No incantations, as I already did a run with those, which means we need a wand or a staff to cast these. We are required to defeat a boss with each individual spell at least once. After that, it's free game to go wild, but we need to show off each in some capacity. And finally, we must defeat every boss in the game. Welcome to the Sultan Sanctuary Magic Spell Only Run. Mr. M definitely does not stand for Mr. Magic, as that would just be lazy. Mage is the obvious starting class as we get a wand and strong magic stats. Throw in the Grasping Ring attack on the magic only challenge card just to keep us honest. Once on the boat, we unequip our sword and look at our initial kit. Mage starts with a ring that prevents elemental buildup on your character. This is essential, as without it you deal damage to yourself after casting too much magic. Mage also gets access to flash fire right out the gate, so we do have some damage to work with. Not enough to defeat the deep though, so we take our beating with grace. On the beach, we select the Devara Creed, them being the closest ones to magic we can join at the moment. We likely won't see the bandage ring slotted for long, but it is free help at the moment. So, flash fire. This is basically a small fireball that deals burn damage upon connecting with a target. The low cost makes it super spammable, and if you can aim higher up on a boss, some trickle down often deals additional damage. Connect with the Sodden Knight as he jumps, and this allows you to stop any of his forward momentum. We're incredibly safe at the moment, our damage is more than solid, and while mana amount will definitely be an issue in the future, we have plenty of surplus for this electric brute. Can you guess what stats we need to level this go around? Magic, magic, and mostly more magic. Also a mana potion here and there, because yeah, we're gonna need plenty of those. Just under the Nomad Merchant's location, we find a secret door. Our next spell, Lightning Bolt, stands unprotected on a ledge inside. And further in, we can collect a Stone Mage. Throw some salt into class 2 spells, and now we have a Jolt of Electricity. Using our newfound power to decimate a shielded knight grants the Conduit of Mind Ring. More mana to work with. Honestly, how do you use magic without this? Just inside Watching Woods, we drop down one level where we find the Crimson Armor set. Once we can get into class 1 light armor, the gloves grant you +3 in your magic stat. Of course, I will pick up the Wrapped Link for those sweet dodge rolls, but even this one is going to be hard to keep on for long. Mages have a bit too many good picks to choose from, let me tell you. Lightning Bolt isn't very complicated at all. Stand about 10-ish feet from your target and watch as they're shocked by your power. Queenie here isn't all that weak to anything except for Holy, so our damage doesn't look spectacular, but safety is the actual benefit. You will notice in general Mage can stay quite far from targets while whittling them down. Spam gets you caught as our stamina is very low at the moment, but jumping before casting is exceptionally useful with this spell in particular, although I didn't really learn this until much later. After farming some archers and slimes in the deadly forest ahead, we can purchase another mana potion from our Creed leader along with an orange phial. Devara Creed is actually crazy good for mages, as orange phials, unique to this group, restore health, yes, but also mana at the same time. A 2-for-1 deal, and we all know how effective those are. With about 1500 gold, we can now purchase a staff from the mage. Wands are going to let you still use your weapon in your offhand. Staves are going to be two-handed, but instead hold 2 spell slots at the same time. I also believe they do more damage. We won't use more than 1 spell per boss, but in dungeon areas, it's a blessing to slot 2 at a time. An absolute blessing, trust me. Another reason to rank up in Devara is because the mage is going to sell Lightning Barrage once you get them to rank 3, a new spell that gives you the power to cast Balls of Death. Lightning balls to be specific, but screaming "I cast death" before Gatling gunning a horde of peasants really speaks to me, you know? Which, to my surprise, the Mad Alchemist did not roll over to this. In fact, damage was just okay, really. I wasn't all upset about this, however, as it let me cast Lightning Barrage over and over, which, gosh, do I love this one. You consume basically all your stamina and a large amount of mana with each go, and in return, you can laser from across the entire arena. The only possible thing that could be better than a single blast of lightning is, of course, 30 blasts of lightning, all chaining in a row, making other magic users look like fools. Since we will be grabbing some very powerful magic later in the game, I decided to give Flash Fire one more chance to shine. This fire spell is literally your most basic option. It doesn't deal all that much damage and relies on that burn to pull it through. However, there were 2 things I noticed up against the Kraken Cyclops. First being that jumping makes magic feel faster. I'm not really sure if the animation gets over quicker if you fall down, maybe the spells leave you sooner. I really don't know. But using magic spells after jumping keeps you safe from attacks more often and typically felt a lot faster. And second is Flashfire specifically has this sort of whoosh, I'm gonna call it. If the initial fireball doesn't reach your target, a second whoosh or streak will be sent out to inflict the burn, almost doubling the range for Flashfire. So while the damage here was kind of unnoticeable and the giant got so many more chances to take me out, it still wasn't all that hard. With Class 1 light armor unlocked, we equipped the +3 magic gloves and stylish pants. Charged Ring can be bought from a mage for 8,000 gold, increasing our magic by another 3 points. Then upgrade the staff to level 3 for loads more damage, and we should be good to go. False Jester is a wily fellow. Being possibly the most agile boss in the game, I assumed magic would not be easy to get off. Lightning Bolt, however, turned out to be a perfect counter. As he barrels towards you for pokes and slashes, you roll behind and blast 1 or 2 bolts at a time. Repeat for a while, and that's it. Lightning Bolt really has some absurd range, keeping you safe, and its damage was more than suffice to say the least. Acquiring the Vertigo brand at our colorful friend, we make our way through the halls of storms, stopping at this ledge for more soldiers' poems. Kraken Worm is comically weak to lightning, which should make Lightning Barrage look better than ever. And that it does. Stagger was far less apparent than I had thought, considering about 50 electric balls or smacking him in the face. This let the scaly lizard fly away whenever he pleased, but wait, we could still rapid fire you all the way up there, so nothing to worry about. Having made sure I built into several mana potions at this point, there's nothing stopping me now. Wall Jump Brand, you shall now aid me in my quest for magical power. Time for a quick detour. If you head all the way back under the Queen of Smiles area, there's a Vertigo brand. This seemingly leads to nothing, but just give me a moment of your time if you will. Once upside down, you could travel to a secret underground nest filled with endgame enemies. No, seriously, I wouldn't usually take on these egg-spitting green monsters after taking down every boss. Managed to get by them on the very left side leads to a chest containing a unique armor set. Gave me sort of an evil Chinese vibe, especially with the hat that could not be more stylish. Go back into the cave and use another Vertigo brand to reach Lightning Arc. Class 3 spells will be needed for this one, but trust me, this literal cheat code is well worth it. Up against the Tree of Men, what makes Lightning Arc so good? Well, this is a lightning cast similar to Lightning Bolt. Instead of 1 bolt though, you get 7 that all splinter out in different directions, covering the entire screen. Whoever created this really said aiming magic is way too difficult. Just let me hold a button either left, right, up, or down and be covered. And so Lightning Arc was born. Oh come on, the Tree of Men gets to take me out? This much damage and somehow a stupid metal tree is what gets me. Ah well, we get to use the spell a bit longer I guess. Delete all the men without really moving at all, stand there doing the same to his head, eat some of that fire because you didn't leave soon enough, classic, and then shock the beast to its very core. Nicely done. Inside Hager's Cavern, there's a quick upgrade we can go collect. Usually there isn't a reason to go down and left towards the wrecked ship, but since we are a magical wizard this time around, we can grab the Rowan Crozier on top of it. Or since I probably am saying that incorrectly, we get a slightly better staff. At a blacksmith, we instantly get it up to level 4. And you know what? I just realized I forgot a spell back there in the red halls. If you leave from the first sanctuary just before the first scythe wielder, you need to avoid a small pressure plate hidden in the dark to find Fireball. Essentially a better version of Flash Fire. I think the main difference is that the smaller fire spell actually tracks the enemy if it doesn't reach them first, while the Fireball explodes into a burst of flames upon connecting with a target. As you can imagine, the Fireball seems far more powerful, inflicting way more burn damage. I mean, way more burn damage. This thing is a nuke once it's set off. Since I have 5 orange files now from my Creed leader, Untouched Inquisitor never stood a chance. These are so strong for mages, by the way. Healing, poison curing, and mana back all from one use. Frees up my quick slots, that's for sure. Of course, the reason I came here first was to grab the Lord's Orders in this boss arena for a level 5 staff. The third lamb? More like the cooked lamb. Fireball is everything people love about pyromancy in the Dark Souls series. Lots of damage, good range, looks like an extremely cool explosion every time it goes off, which is obviously awesome. The trick is again to aim at the head of a boss. In fact, this works identical to how fire pots are now that I think about it. Fireball does have a small range disadvantage in that it isn't infinite. Definitely hits far away, but if you try to get really cheesy like you can in this arena, the blast won't quite reach all the way. And I think that wraps up this fight. Fireball, I don't really know if I want to use you again, but I definitely enjoyed my time with you. The sweet, sweet lady of flames that you are. Hardlight brand is an excellent tool, thank you, and look at that. We already have about 42 magic. Inside the ziggurat, you could take out a mimic near the top for Flame Barrage, Lightning Barrage, but with fire instead. And you know what that means. Burn is added in as well. Okay, the Dried King is definitely very resistant to fire. He is the literal king of fire after all, so I'll take the hint. Let's pull out the good old lightning arc instead. Not exactly sure what I was expecting, but this seems a lot lower than you would think. Turns out the only magic good against Captain Bones here is Holy. He's easy enough, so let's not endure this mindless lightning spam any longer than we have to. His defeat welcomes the Dart brand into our arsenal, and with that, we can now reach a dark and terrible power meant to stay locked away forever. Darting our way across the top of Pitchwoods means we can skip several bosses for now and join up with the Order of the Betrayer. Just before doing so, be sure to stop near the coveted boss fight and jump up this wall here. If you fully talked to him earlier, the Sorcerer NPC will be here with a chest containing my favorite spell in the game, Flame Star. This thing was literally the only spell I used in my Magic co-op run with my brother back in the day. As soon as you're able to reach the Mage NPC for our new Dark Creed, you can purchase Dark Coil, Dark Reach, Dark Arrows, and a Lightning Ball. If I'm correct, this is the only way you can get Dark-based spells, which are abnormally cheap by the way. Dark Arrows cost a single gold coin, which doesn't fill me with much confidence for it, but I guess we'll wait and see. For the next 30 minutes or so, I set about taking down sanctuaries, desecrating the members of Devara who were so good to me. Sorry guys, I know I don't get that orange juice anymore, but this has to be done. While I was carrying out my Dark Crusade upon the innocent, I noticed something very unique about my new Lightning Ball spell. This sends out a short-range electric ball that explodes into shock damage after a few seconds, letting it damage enemies behind their shield even if they're blocking. The damage on this is ridiculous, making it really strong for most of the game, but it also has more control than you think. Instead of aiming at the enemy, aim at their feet. This can cause the spell to explode instantly upon reaching the ground, guaranteeing that you're going to hit your mark and get damage out faster. Kinda busted when dealing with NPCs as they don't get to do much at all. With a plethora of expunged hearts now acquired, I go grab a bunch of flasks of defilement. We did have to ultimately rule these out as they don't deal magic damage and do in fact hurt the enemy upon being thrown. Sorry, this time is not a pure death run, so these aren't allowed. We needed to rank up the Creed so our mage could sell Dragonfire. Your Creed needs to be at max for them to sell it, but once they do, you can become a literal dragon. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, I can already tell. But the adventure doesn't stop there. Back into Pitchwoods, we could scale a tall tower directly before Karstjaw. The direction is more cryptic than it needs to be, the platform's more sketchy and albeit terrifying than I would like. Ignoring that, however, we soon reach the top where we can join our third and final Creed, the Creed of Fire and Sky. This is the Magic Creed. They sell some of the best spells and can boost our damage if we put in the work. 3 bloated monstrosities' ears took some time, but not that long really. Just outside the Stone Root Sanctuary is an okay farming spot. Drowned archers can very quickly be farmed near the defeated Queen of Smiles for 3 of their ears. Armor Guardian ashes take forever to farm in Castle of Storms, although we thankfully only need 1 of them. Then under Hager's Cavern are a bunch of spiders you can take down for their husks. Once that's all said and done, we can turn those materials into our leader in exchange for 4 Sky Crystals, a consumable that when used increases all magic damage you deal by 25%. For whatever reason, you also become a glow stick, though that's just kind of an added bonus, I guess. And now, after leveling up with our third Creed for this run, it is time to test the all-powerful magics we have recently acquired. Flame Barrage was my selection of choice for the old pirate. It's hard not to love this spell. You rapid fire burning balls towards the undead fellow. They decimate him, and then add burn damage that continues to decimate him. The range feels almost infinite, and there's nothing bosses can even do against it. Disemboweled Husk fell over beaten as I barely even broke a sweat. Now in the swamp, we can make a quick stop in this upper house of sorts using the Dart brand to reach a chest. Inside is the Alchemist's armor set, which doesn't reach the level of fashion my current drip has. However, its mask increases magic damage by 10% when worn. Yes, we can somehow get even more power. Although it is class 2 light armor, so we're gonna have to wait a fight or 2 on this one. Let's check out Flame Star on the Stench. Summon an evil star of fire that quickly rushes towards your enemies, incinerating them. The thing has almost infinite range since it's sent out from the star, can be spammed every second for like infinite damage, deals burn, takes out minions. For a decent cost, you just delete the target, and that's really all I need to say. Coveted is tricky because how on earth would magic do any damage to an axe? As it turns out, Dark Coil makes a good showing here. 3 dark tendrils shoot out from your staff, tracking towards a target. This can be used at a distance, although the tracking got messed up really bad when I went too far. They each zoom straight towards your enemy, but all in all, this spell was just okay. The Coveted are extremely weak to Dark or Arcane, making it nice here. You'll notice in general, Dark spells have very low mana cost, considering they're the most endgame pickups. I didn't even need a single mana potion for this entire fight, in fact. The little guy did do good against the two ghosts, and for that, I thank it. But I'd be surprised if we see this one again. Next up, we go to annihilate Karshjaw, or as it turns out, he annihilates me. Not sure what was happening on this run because I usually crush this cloaked figure in 1 or 2 tries. This time I gave it everything. Fire, dark, more fire since it seemed pretty good against him, and nothing. From what I was told lore-wise, Karshjaw actually hunts down mages, hence why he can be found under the last mage sanctuary. Seems fitting as I got my magical butt handed to me time and time again. In the end, Flamestar was the saving grace I needed. A single use of this is good, and really just good. But because of how many you can cast at a single time, this gets so strong. The massive burn damage on top of stagger every couple of casts melts his health bar rapidly. Reposition so you're safe from attacks and repeat some more. Taking my really cool outfit off, mainly just the shirt, also helps since fast rolling is much better at dodging his downward pokes. Of course, on this attempt he never got to do those because Flamestar is the best spell ever. No questions asked, this is still my favorite spell in Sultan Sanctuary for damage and consistency in one. Back to the slaughtering, here is Dark Reach against Ronin Cran. In Enhanced Edition, this Class 2 spell has been moved up into a Class 5. It has some of the highest focus or mana cost at 10 per cast and should be the best spell overall. At least pretty close to it, and yeah, that's kind of what I saw here. You send out a very wide wave of darkness that hits the enemy for instant damage. Spamming Dark Reach is remarkably easy, and now with our Mad Alchemist's helmet equipped, damage looks amazing. You gotta remember, some of the best builds don't do all that much to Ronin. I'd say the spell feels deserving of its class upgrade, at least if you ask me. With this passage here now unlocked, we can collect the King's Orders inside a chest. Using this and the Lord's Orders found on the way to Karshjaw grants us a max upgraded wooden staff, which we promptly use against the witch. Double witches for that sentence, which I guess is tolerable. But now, the moment we've all been waiting for. The literal breath of a dragon spitting burning death upon your enemies. So strong that it still manages to build up elemental imbalance that should be impossible with our ring equipped. I'm gonna be honest with you, that wasn't really much at all. Let's take another look at this fight for the fun of it. The stamina and mana cost is absurdly high on this one. Thankfully it has the damage to match. Bye bye witch, I think we all enjoyed seeing you go out this way. Lightning Ball is my personal choice for Murdiella Mao. We haven't used it yet, and since it can explode quickly against the ground, she should be easy to hit. This spell's very weird for me. At times, it seems like an option you can never take off. At very low cost, you can defeat anything in 1 or 2 hits that can be aimed perfectly so you don't miss. Then other times it feels a little harder to use because you have to aim down. The jumping and then casting technique mages get loads of value from seems hard to use. It is amazing. Just manage to floor Mao without much effort. But Lightning Arc, if you're simply looking for a lightning option, feels far safer. After collecting the Shimmering Pearl protected by Mao, using the Witch's Ear and 100,000 salt, we can transmute into the Saria Staff. Okay, let's just call it the Witch's Staff. Your class 5 option that has excellent damage, scaling, and fashion. Use the Drowned Tome hidden near the Betrayer's Creed and it's fully upgraded as well. This is officially mage at max damage as far as I'm aware, so let's check it out. Dark Rain sounded like a decent tool against the Unskinned, although I really don't know what to say about this one. Its mana cost is almost nothing at all, but in turn, its damage is almost nothing at all. What the spell does is cast a large dark orb that fires tendrils of arcane towards enemies, basically the most annoying attack Witch of the Lake has. If you use this thing 15 times, the damage stacks nicely, making it look very effective. I was able to cast across the entire boss room as well. This lets the orb stagger both monsters at the same time and eat at them until nothing is left. Either the most amazing, disappointing spell ever, or the most disappointing, amazing spell ever. Actually did feel kinda cool to use though, so we might try it here again soon. Flame Barrage is of course not on the fence at all. I think each projectile can hit more than once if you get them angled correctly, because once I got under the mage was gone. Do be aware that this magical creed might be the best for magic damage, but it's also the worst for healing. These colorful flasks of healing do very little and take forever to get you full. Not usually a problem since, my guy, just look at the damage we're dealing. But it is at least some downside for unmatched sorcerer power. If ever I had a good idea, it was Dragonfire against Dragonfire. Up against this tall behemoth, my breath appears far more dangerous. Because if there was ever a saying more appropriate now than ever, it's the bigger they are, the harder they fall. It looks like I am the dragon now. So, funny story, I almost forgot about the Bloodless Prince. Yeah, was about to take on the final boss, but just one more side quest first, if you don't mind. Dark Coil is the weakest dark spell by class, and I felt like Coveted wasn't a good enough test. For this one, I'm gonna have to ask for your help. Would you ever use this spell? Personally, I think it's far better than I originally thought. Solid range, massive chunks at a time, and little cost. But compare it to Dark Reach, which is like the same spell but more damage, or Flame Star, Flame Barrage, Dragon's Breath. All of these output so much that Dark Coil gets left in the dust. And now for the nameless god himself. On my first attempt, I tried out dual spells for the first time. Lightning Ball and Flame Star pair very well together, making for what felt like an instant win. But that's a little too easy. Let's try again and give Dark Rain another chance. The damage was pretty decent considering the final boss's resistances, and it's pretty funny too because you can cast a billion dark orbs 50 feet from him. Problem was, I just couldn't beat him with this spell. Not enough magic of all things ended up being the problem. No matter how efficient I was with casts, it just couldn't be done. Now, unfortunately, Bola Eye Nerves are one of the most painful items to farm in this game. Luckily, however, Thing of Arm's Ears are, well, those aren't great either. But after some time, I had 3 ready for my leader. Turning these in gives us a single bottle of what's called Clarity. When taken, your damage will now regen your mana. And since Dark Rain hits several times per cast, we have infinite mana for 30 seconds. Which in the end was all I needed to take the Dark Lord down. Not before I found an extremely cool exploit though. If you first wall jump into the air, casting can keep you airborne. The final boss literally can't deal a single bit of damage to you at all while you're up there. And if you're thinking, well, maybe the magic barrage he has. Nope, because we could stagger him out of that before it's set off. It can be tricky to avoid damage when you have to fall back down, but this was still the easiest encounter with him ever. Is it stupid? Yes. Should it be possible? Probably not. But does it make a seemingly mediocre spell seem completely busted? Indeed it does. Dark Rain is in fact incredibly powerful, if you have enough tricks up your sleeve. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Sultan Sanctuary beaten using only magic spells. Definitely an unusual run this time around. We maxed 2 different creeds and came 1 workload away from maxing a 3rd. We gained several sources of extra damage from magic, which is crazy considering how much damage magic already does. And using every individual magic spell was kind of a blast. Obviously we have a few that overshadow everything, but in general each can be used to great effect when you need them. My top 3 would have to be Dragonfire, Flame Star, and Flame Barrage, because man, these are so much fun. All 3 of them fire abilities, which should probably tell you something. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more, a like down below goes a long way. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.